Hitler is famous for many horrendous and horrible things, but perhaps what his most famous quality is, other than invading and killing everything, is his extreme anti-Semitic views. Today, the ideology he led is literally the symbol of anti-Semitism, and his actions killed countless Jews, Poles, Gypsies, homosexuals, well, you get the point. But what if he wasn't evil? What if in this timeline, instead of using his hate against the Jews and non-Germans, Hitler used his hate to do other things? Well, here's one possible scenario. There were many different factors that led Hitler to power, but much of what made him rise so quickly was his harnessing of the extreme right and hatred of Jews. Basically, his hatred led to his power. Yet, what if Hitler didn't hate Jews? What if that nice Jewish girl didn't break a young Hitler's heart, or whatever caused him to hate Jews just didn't happen, and he was never an anti-Semite? Would he have ever risen to power? Would he even become the evil and hated figure we know today? That's up to debate. Yet, for the sake of time, let's say that he is still able to rise throughout Germany due solely to his nationalistic and political speeches. So if Hitler wouldn't hate the Jews, who would he hate? Well, it's simple. People react to hate in fear. And after World War I, there were two countries the Germans could easily hate: the British and the French. Instead of hating the Jews, Hitler harnesses the hatred of the Brits and French and blames those countries for Germany's misfortunes and economic hardships. The German people become very nationalistic, and Hitler promises a stronger Germany to the citizens. Basically, he still has the idea of the Third Reich. However, this view is not one of wiping out the Jews, Poles, and anyone he deems unworthy. The Third Reich is a moderate empire with the same ideals as the old German Empire. Hitler somehow becomes leader of Germany, and the Nazi Party becomes a very far-right and militaristic organization. However, they are not anti-Semitic. This new Nazi Party hates two groups: the Allies from World War I, which consists of the British and French, and the Communists, who were big nemesis of the far-right Nazi Party. Basically, there would be an extreme purge of anything British, French, or Communist instead of anything Jewish. The British and French are forced and kicked out of Germany, and this alarms Britain and France, who sees this new Germany as a threat. Since Hitler would not be an anti-Semite or a bigot of any kind, he does not preach the idea of Lebensraum, or the idea of the Aryan race needing a space to live by wiping out other, quote, undesirable races. Since Lebensraum was a leading factor in Hitler's mind for war, he does not prepare his forces to invade all of Eastern Europe. So would Hitler still go to war? Odds are, yes. He was still crazy and paranoid even without his bigotry and anti-Semitism, and his leadership would not be the best for Germany. Since Hitler was as far-right as you could get, he most likely would use that nationalism and drive Germany for war against Britain and France. Hitler would not be the only voice in Germany. He would be more of a figurehead and a representation of how low Germany has gone for revenge. Many sections of the German government and military would unite for revenge against the Allies and secretly would prepare for an attack the French and British couldn't prepare for. This war could result in anything, but most likely Hitler would invade Belgium to get to France. After wiping out France with a blitzkrieg invasion, Hitler allies with Italy and secures borders with Spain, before going after Britain with the entire front of the German military bearing down on the British. This is the start of World War II, which would be quicker and smaller than in our timeline. Stalin is too involved in the USSR to care about the events in Western Europe. Hitler, however, invades Poland with the same agreement with the Russians as in our timeline, in order to restore land from the old German Empire, yet he doesn't betray Stalin and invade Russia. Since the Nazis still hated communists, Soviet-Nazi relations would still be cold, yet wouldn't result in an Operation Barbarossa-style war, so the Eastern Front would be peaceful. The French, British, and Poles are left to fight for themselves in an underground resistant fight against the German occupation. America secretly funds the British and French resistance, giving them weapons and food, while tensions between the Japanese and Americans continue to grow. The Japanese still attack the Americans, and Hitler still declares war on America. The US launches a series of small invasions on the Scottish coast in an attempt to beat back the occupying Germans, yet the overwhelming Nazi influence is difficult to fight back. Since in our timeline the Soviets were basically what killed the Nazi Empire, the main front of the Nazis would be in Western Europe, making France and Britain literal death traps to attack. The Germans would cement their dominance in the region and would install puppet regimes throughout the UK and France. Odds are schools in the UK and France would teach children about the German invasion as a way to dethrone the regimes which harmed the German people, and Nazi propaganda would heavily influence the native people. Thus, future generations of British and French would be forced to see themselves as part of the Nazi German Empire. This is just one scenario out of the possible thousands that could have occurred. This wasn't supposed to be an actual prediction, since there were so many factors that go into Hitler's rise, yet more of an exercise of alternate history. But if Hitler's views had been different, who knows how differently the world would be? Have an idea for a future video? Leave it in the comments, and as always, like us on Facebook, subscribe if you have not done so. This is Cody from the Alternate History Hub.